Most of us were taught to believe that vaccines simply boost the immune system. But what if I told you that how they boost it and which direction they push it can actually shape your child's long-term immune patterns? In today's video, we're going to talk about something called TH2 skewing. And I know that sounds really technical, but I promise by the end of this video, you'll understand what TH2 skewing means, how it happens with a focus on how vaccinations play a role, and why it matters. I'm a licensed naturopathic doctor, and I've spent years studying how the immune system develops, both from conventional immunology and through the lens of natural medicine. My goal today is to bridge those two worlds and speak to you, a parent who wants to be informed in supporting your child's health from the inside out. Let's start with what I mean when I say TH1 and TH2. TH1 and TH2 are two types of T helper cells. That's where the names come from. T helper 1 cell and T helper 2 cell. Now, these are special messengers in your immune system that help coordinate different immune responses. Depending on the kind of threat your body faces, these cells can trigger very different patterns of defense, what we call a TH1 type or TH2 type response. As a review, your immune system, remember, has two main divisions. There's the innate immune system, which is your body's first line fast defense that responds immediately to invaders, and the adaptive immune system, which learns from experience and mounts targeted responses. The TH1 and TH2 responses are part of that adaptive immune system. Specifically, there are two types of responses coordinated by a kind of white blood cell called a T helper cell. Think of T helper cells like the heads of two different school security teams. When a threat shows up, these security chiefs decide which team to activate. One that handles inside threats like sneaky hackers, so in the body that's viruses and bacteria, or another that deals with outside threats like pollen or harmless visitors. Now, depending on the type of invader, the T helper cells direct the best defense strategy to keep the school safe and balanced. These two main teams, the T helper 1 and T helper 2 cells, and how they respond, each have different tools, strengths, and jobs. And just like in real life, the right response at the right time makes all the difference in keeping your child healthy without overreacting. So thinking of TH1 and TH2 as those two complementary security systems in a school, TH1 is like your on-site response team. These are the in-the-building responders, like the faculty, hall monitors, janitors, the nurse, and the principal. They handle internal problems quickly and directly, like a fight in the hallway or a broken window or a sick kid who needs help. They go straight to the scene, assess, contain, and clean it up. In immunology, TH1 immunity is about cell-mediated responses, so activating T cells and macrophages to destroy infected cells or clean up internal messes, like viruses or cancer. When TH1 works well, the school handles internal problems efficiently. The TH2 response is like the perimeter alert system, and this system is all about external threat prevention, so security cameras, locked doors, background checks, parent sign-in sheets. It's focused on keeping invaders out, like strangers, allergens, parasites, or bacteria. If it senses something unfamiliar, it might raise an alarm, even if the threat is mild, like someone just wearing a hoodie or a harmless insect in the classroom. TH2 immunity is antibody-driven, so it's designed to detect and neutralize extracellular threats, things that are outside of the cells, before they get inside. When TH2 is balanced, it keeps the school safe from outside harm without overreacting. So what happens when the system gets out of balance? If TH1 is weak, small problems inside the school turn into chaos. Injuries can spread, sick kids aren't helped, viruses are running wild. On the flip side of this imbalance, if TH2 becomes overreactive, it starts to treat harmless things like dust, peanuts, or pollen as threats, shutting down the school for no reason. In the body, you get allergies, eczema, and asthma. And here's the thing, if the school never lets kids get dirty, handle challenges, or experience mild germs, TH1 never develops its skills. TH2 becomes hyper-vigilant, even paranoid, and starts ringing the alarm for every bug or breeze. When the immune system pushes the body toward a TH1 type response, it's gearing up for cellular immunity, an approach that uses immune cells to directly destroy infected cells, especially helpful for viruses, bacteria, and even some cancers. TH1 is precise, aggressive, and body-wide. But when the immune system leans toward a TH2 type response, it emphasizes antibody production. Now, this is useful for dealing with things like parasites or allergens, threats that stay near the surface, like in the nose, lungs, or skin. TH2 also plays a big role in allergic reactions via triggering histamine and surface inflammation. This is also the type of immune response that most vaccines and conventional medicine aim to activate, since they focus a lot on training the body to produce antibodies. Now, both TH1 and TH2 are essential. So the problem isn't one or the other. It's when there is an imbalance between them. Now, that imbalance, usually an overreactive TH2 response and an underreactive TH1 response, is what's referred to as a TH2 skew. And a skew just means the immune system is out of balance and leaning too much in one direction, so favoring TH2 allergy and antibody type reactions, and not using its strong TH1 direct defenses as well. Now, before we jump into how skewing happens, let's zoom out for a moment and look at a bigger picture. Remember, the immune system isn't just a fixed set of defenses. It's a learning system, as we've talked about in other videos. And I often tell parents, the immune system is like a child itself. It's growing and adjusting too. And most importantly, it's learning from experience. And just like children, the immune system has its most formative years early in life. During this time, it's trying to figure out what's safe, what's a real threat, and how big of a reaction is appropriate. Now, here's another key. Whatever we introduce during this early training window becomes part of how the immune system defines what's normal. So let's use an analogy here. Picture your immune system like a new puppy being trained to guard your home. If that puppy is only ever exposed to the mailman through a conditioned experience, like someone shouting, "Get him," every time the mail is delivered, it may grow up to bark aggressively or react nervously every time it sees a uniform or hears any kind of truck. On the other hand, if that puppy is gently exposed to the world through positive, varied, and natural interactions, it's more likely to grow into a calm, confident, and discerning adult dog. The same goes for your child's immune system. Early on, the immune system is meant to have a gradual introduction to the world. A few microbes from mom, some exposures from breast milk, skin-to-skin contact, dirt, older siblings, maybe even some pets. All of these help it learn what's harmless and what's helpful. But when the first major lesson is an injected vaccine, especially one that contains strong immune-stimulating chemicals and bypasses the natural entryways like the nose, gut, and skin, the immune system learns to respond in a very heightened, narrow, and antibody-focused way. Now, this isn't always bad. Vaccines are designed to train the body to recognize specific threats, but they do it often in a way that's more scripted than natural. And if multiple vaccines are given this way in a short window of time, especially in a baby whose immune system already leans toward, it can shape the immune responses in a lopsided way. So this concept of TH2 skewing isn't just about vaccines causing something, it's about what kind of immune education we're giving and how we might unintentionally be pushing the system to overreact to the world or underreact in other areas. Understanding this can shift how we approach immune health, not just as disease prevention, but from a more thoughtful and holistic lens. So what does skewing mean? Skewing happens when the immune system gets trained to favor one side more than the other, even when it's not the best tool for the job. So instead of a balanced team, the school ends up relying just on outdoor security and ignoring the role of inside security or vice versa. That's what TH2 skewing means. The immune system is disproportionately activating the TH2 side, even in situations where a TH1 response would be better. To give an example of why this happens, we're going to talk about how vaccines influence immune skewing. In early infancy, babies are normally born with a mild TH2 bias, and this is partly because pregnancy favors a TH2 environment to prevent the baby from being rejected by the mom's immune system. That TH2 lean persists in the early weeks and months of life. Now, here's where vaccines come in. Certain vaccine ingredients, especially something called aluminum-based adjuvants, are designed to make the immune system respond more strongly. But the catch is, in addition to some of the other concerns with injecting aluminum into the body, it also doesn't stimulate both sides equally. It strongly favors TH2 responses. And many of the earliest vaccines, like the DTaP vaccine for diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, are made with this aluminum. They're also acellular, meaning they only contain purified pieces of the germ and not the whole thing. Now, that makes them safer in some ways, but it also makes them less likely to stimulate a balanced and robust TH1 response. So what you get is a strong antibody response, TH2, but not much cell-mediated memory, TH1. Here's another way to look at this. Think about yourself training for self-defense. If you train only to shout for help, TH2, but never train to defend yourself physically, TH1, you'll be unprepared if someone actually breaks into your home. That's what can happen when vaccines overly skew toward TH2. They create surface-level readiness, but may not develop deep cellular memory, and this pattern can persist. So in some children, this early skew becomes a kind of default setting, especially if they have a family history already of allergies or immune sensitivities. So why does this matter? Well, a TH2 skewed immune system isn't bad, but when it's dominant, it can lead to some important consequences. For one, there can be an increased risk of atopic conditions. A TH2 dominant body is more reactive to things like dust, pollen, foods, and skin triggers. This is because TH2 is involved in IgE production, which is the antibody type involved in allergies and asthma. It doesn't cause allergies on its own, but it creates more susceptibility if other factors are present. Another consequence is shorter immune memory, especially with whooping cough, pertussis. Kids who get the Detox series are often protected at first, but that protection wanes quickly. And that's because they didn't build a strong TH1 memory. They may still catch or spread the disease later on, even without symptoms, because the immune system didn't fully learn how to fight from the inside. Then there's weaker herd immunity. So when immune responses don't prevent transmission, even vaccinated people can pass the illness along. This is one reason why we've seen pertussis, whooping cough outbreaks, even in highly vaccinated populations. So what might you notice if your child is skewed toward TH2? Here are some common patterns, though they can have other causes too. Recurrent ear infections, colds, or sinus issues, skin conditions like eczema, food sensitivities, even from a young age, seasonal allergies or asthma symptoms, an immune system that seems to overreact to small or harmless things, but still isn't able to fully protect against common illnesses like colds or the flu. This is the picture of an immune system that's overreactive in some areas and underreactive in others. Now, here's the most important part. There's still a lot you can do to support balance, even if your child has already had early vaccines. The immune system is constantly learning, as we talked about. It's adaptable, especially in young kids. So here are some ways you can help it move toward balance. Number 1, support the terrain. This means strengthening the overall ecosystem of your child's body. So breastfeeding infants when possible, minimizing ultra-processed foods, supporting gut health with fermented foods, broth, and mineral-rich meals, and avoiding unnecessary antibiotics or over-sterilization. Number 2, embrace natural micro-exposures. So time playing in dirt, sand, forests, and among other animals can help train the immune system in a safe and natural way. It tells the body, this is normal, don't overreact to it. Number 3, constitutional homeopathy. Working with a professional homeopath, naturopathic doctor, or other medical professional trained in homeopathy to find your child's constitutional remedy can gently encourage balance across the immune and nervous systems and stimulate healing and vitality overall. And it can be very powerful. Number 4, gentle detox and drainage. So support, especially where there's intense vaccine reactions, consider working with a qualified practitioner on ways to support the body's elimination pathways and cellular communication. Number 5, delay or space vaccines when appropriate. So every family has to make their own decisions about whether or not to vaccinate and when. But for those choosing vaccination, delaying until the immune system is more mature can sometimes reduce that TH2 skew. So what's the big takeaway here? Your child's immune system is a brilliant, adaptable system. It's not just a defense mechanism. Again, it's a learning system. And everything we do teaches it how to respond to the world around us. Vaccines are not neutral. They guide the immune system in a particular direction. In early life, especially with those aluminum-based vaccines, that direction tends to be more TH2 heavy, more antibody-focused, and less cellular. That has real implications for allergy risk, immune memory, and the body's ability to self-regulate. This information is about being aware of all the factors that shape health so we can be more intentional with how we support our children moving forward. If this video helped you understand something new, please share it with a fellow parent. This kind of information can be hard to find and sometimes even harder to decode in plain language. And make sure to download my free guide on how to support immune health naturally and holistically, linked below.